Welcome back to our channel, soap fans. Today is a phenomenal day to dive deep into the scandalous, jaw-dropping world of Los Angeles fashion and family feuds. Grab your favorite drink and brace yourselves, because the drama we are about to unpack is absolutely explosive. Let's get right into the madness. The sound of a shattering illusion echoes through the hills of Los Angeles. John Finn Finnegan, the man who promised his wife a lifetime of loyalty and protection, has just crossed the ultimate line of betrayal. Steffy Forrester Finnegan's worst nightmare is no longer a shadow lurking in the alleyways of Il Giardino, it is breathing the same air as her husband in a secret, dimly lit apartment. The absolute collapse of the Shin marriage is happening right before our eyes, and the detonation is going to leave casualties everywhere. Following Steffy's apocalyptic, screamed ultimatum that forbade Sheila from ever taking a single breath near their family, Finn was thrust into a violent psychological meat grinder. The sheer force of Steffy's rage should have been enough to snap him back to reality, to make him realize the catastrophic stakes of his mother's presence. But John Finnegan is a man deeply, tragically fractured by the primal void of his adoption. He cannot simply sever the umbilical cord that Sheila has wrapped around his mind. The terrifying truth is that Finn is addicted to the toxic, unconditional validation that Sheila weaponizes against him. Every time he closes his eyes, he doesn't see the monster who shot his wife, he sees a broken, weeping woman begging for a sliver of her son's love. This fatal blind spot is the exact weakness Sheila relies on, and she is playing him like a master violinist. Unable to resist the magnetic, manipulative pull of his biological mother, Finn takes a step into the unforgivable. He secretly secures a hidden, off-the-books apartment, a shadowy sanctuary far away from the prying eyes of the Forrester security detail and Steffy's fiercely protective gaze. This clandestine location becomes the epicenter of his betrayal. When Finn walks through that door, he is no longer the devoted husband or the respected doctor, he is a pawn stepping directly into the spider's web. The room is thick with deception, the air heavy with the unspoken reality that every second he spends within those walls is a lethal strike against his marriage vows. Inside this secret lair, Sheila executes a masterclass in psychological warfare. She doesn't yell. She doesn't threaten. Instead, she utilizes a weapon far more dangerous to a man with a savior complex. She plays the ultimate, shattered victim. Tears stream down her face in a perfectly calculated display of artificial remorse. She collapses into Finn's arms, sobbing about her past sins, claiming the agonizing pain of rejection is tearing her soul apart. She whispers poison into his ear, twisting the narrative until Steffy's fiercely protective boundaries sound like cruel, vindictive punishments. Sheila paints herself as a desperate martyr who only wants to love her boy, systematically dismantling Finn's defenses until he genuinely believes his wife is the villain of the story. Finn swallows the lie completely, hook, line, and sinker. The manipulation is so absolute, so flawlessly executed, that Finn actually begins to resent Steffy's firmness. Standing in that secret apartment, holding the woman who nearly murdered his family, Finn rationalizes his betrayal. He tells himself he is managing the situation, that he is protecting Steffy by keeping Sheila placated, that this secret double life is a necessary sacrifice for peace. It is a stunning, horrifying display of delusion. He looks into Sheila's eyes and sees redemption, completely blind to the sinister, victorious gleam hiding just beneath her fake tears. But a secret this massive cannot exist without leaving a trail of destruction. To maintain this illicit connection, Finn is forced to construct a towering labyrinth of lies. The deception begins to bleed into his everyday life, poisoning the very foundation of his home. He starts missing critical family events. A school play for Kelly. A quiet family dinner with Hayes. Every absence is covered by the same tired, hollow excuse: an emergency shift at the hospital, an unexpected surgery, a sudden crisis in the ER. He looks his beautiful wife directly in the eyes and lies through his teeth, completely unaware that his erratic behavior is setting off every single alarm bell in Steffy's razor-sharp intuition. Steffy Forrester Finnegan is not a woman who can be easily fooled. She has survived plane crashes, kidnappings, and bullets. She possesses a primal, predatory instinct when it comes to the safety of her family. When Finn's excuses begin to pile up, the math simply stops making sense. The hospital schedules don't align. The sudden, desperate need to rush out the door in the middle of the night feels entirely wrong. A cold, suffocating dread begins to coil in Steffy's stomach. She knows the scent of deception, and right now, her husband is reeking of it. The terrifying realization that Finn might be lying to her sends a shockwave of adrenaline through her veins, shifting her from a concerned wife to a relentless investigator. The breaking point arrives on a Tuesday evening. Finn claims another emergency at the hospital, rushing out with a hurried, guilt-ridden kiss on Steffi's cheek. But Steffi makes a single, devastating phone call to the hospital administration. The truth hits her like a physical blow to the chest. Dr. Finnegan is not on the schedule. He hasn't been paged. He is not in the building. The floor drops out from beneath her. The man she loves, the father of her child, is out in the darkness of Los Angeles, covering his tracks. Steffi doesn't hesitate. Fueled by a terrifying mixture of heartbreak and volcanic rage, she tracks his location, following the digital breadcrumbs directly to the secret apartment complex. The drive to the apartment is a blur of agonizing scenarios flashing through Steffi's mind. Is it an affair? Is it drugs? But deep down, in the darkest corners of her soul, she knows exactly what she is going to find. The specter of Sheila has never truly left their lives. When Steffi pulls up to the nondescript building, her blood turns to ice. She marches down the dimly lit hallway, every step echoing like a death knell for her marriage. She doesn't knock. She doesn't announce herself. She turns the handle of the unlocked door and pushes it open, stepping directly into the nightmare she had fought so desperately to prevent. The scene inside the apartment is frozen in time. Finn is sitting on the couch, holding Sheila's hands, speaking to her in hushed, comforting tones. When the door swings open, the silence that follows is deafening. Finn's head snaps up, all the color instantly draining from his face as his eyes lock onto his wife. Sheila, ever the opportunist, doesn't look terrified, she looks vindicated. Steffi stands in the doorway, her breath catching in her throat as the sheer, unadulterated reality of the betrayal crashes over her. It is a moment of pure, cinematic devastation. The man who swore to protect her from this exact monster is actively comforting her in a secret hideaway. What follows is not a simple argument, it is an apocalyptic, earth-shattering confrontation. Steffi's voice drops to a lethal, trembling whisper before exploding into a hurricane of fury. She unleashes a torrent of rage, completely eviscerating Finn for his unfathomable stupidity and treason. She demands to know how many times he looked her in the eyes and lied. She demands to know how he could hold their children with the same hands that just comforted their would-be murderer. Finn scrambles, stammering out pathetic, hollow excuses. He tries to explain his twisted logic, begging Steffi to understand the psychological grip Sheila has on him, but his words are nothing more than ash in the wind. For Steffi, this is not just a mistake, it is the total, irreversible collapse of trust. The foundation of their marriage has been pulverized into dust. She looks at Finn and no longer sees her protector, she sees a liability, a weak, easily manipulated boy who will continually put their family in the crosshairs of a psychopath. The fear of Sheila is suddenly eclipsed by the horrifying realization that her husband is the one holding the door open for the devil. Steffi's tears are not born of sadness, but of a profound, agonizing grief for the marriage she thought she had. She points a shaking finger at the door, her voice cracking with finality as she tells Finn that he has made his choice, and now he must live with the catastrophic consequences. Finn drops to his knees, utterly shattered, begging for a second chance, pleading for forgiveness. But Steffi's walls have slammed shut, reinforced by steel and survival instinct. She turns her back on the man she loves, walking out of the secret apartment and leaving Finn alone with the toxic mother who just cost him everything. The Shin marriage is officially on life support, hovering over the precipice of a brutal, unredeemable divorce. Steffi's heart is a fortress once again, and John Finnegan is firmly locked on the outside, trapped in the nightmare of his own making. While the Forrester-Finnegan household is consumed by flames, an entirely different inferno is igniting across town at the Logan estate. Liam Spencer has been pacing the floors, anxiously awaiting the return of Brooke Logan from her wellness retreat. The fashion war between House of Logan and Forrester Creations has reached a toxic boiling point, and the collateral damage is piling up. Liam is desperate, terrified by the severe physical toll this corporate bloodbath is taking on his wife, Hope. He has orchestrated this meeting with a singular, desperate goal: to force an intervention, to beg Brooke to lay down her weapons, and to broker a peace treaty before Hope's health is permanently destroyed. The front door swings open, and Brooke Logan steps into the foyer. She looks refreshed, glowing from her time away, completely unaware of the absolute chaos that has unfolded in her absence. Liam wastes no time. He approaches her with a frantic, desperate energy, his eyes wide with panic. He sits her down and delivers the horrifying news. He tells Brooke about the relentless, crushing stress of the fashion house swap. He details the agonizing moments when Hope's vision blurred, when her chest tightened, when she collapsed to the floor in a full-blown panic attack. He describes the fainting spells, the sheer physical exhaustion, the terrifying reality that Hope is buckling under the weight of this family war. Liam expects shock. He expects maternal concern. He expects Brooke to instantly agree to a ceasefire, to prioritize her daughter's health above all else. But Liam Spencer has severely miscalculated the depth of Brooke Logan's vindictive fury. Instead of softening, Brooke's posture goes rigid. The serene glow from her retreat vanishes instantly, replaced by a dark, terrifying storm of absolute rage. The intervention fails spectacularly before it even begins. Brooke does not see a reason to surrender, she sees a reason to escalate. The news of Hope's suffering does not extinguish her fire, it pours a gallon of gasoline directly onto the flames. Brooke leaps to her feet, her eyes blazing with thermonuclear anger. She rounds on Liam, completely eviscerating him for his perceived weakness. She screams that it is his job as a husband to protect Hope, to shield her from the vicious attacks of the Forresters. She accuses Liam of being a spineless, passive observer while Steffi and Ridge systematically tear Hope down. Brooke's venom is palpable. She tears into Liam's inability to control the narrative, branding him as a failure who allowed the Forrester machine to crush his wife's spirit. Liam is left stunned, reeling from the sheer ferocity of Brooke's verbal assault, realizing too late that he has unleashed a monster. Brooke refuses to accept a single ounce of responsibility for the tension. In her mind, the blame rests entirely, unequivocally on the shoulders of Steffi and Ridge Forrester. She paces the room, her voice echoing off the walls as she paints a picture of Steffi as a ruthless, oppressive tyrant who is intentionally driving Hope into the ground. She accuses Ridge of enabling his daughter's vicious corporate bullying, of turning a blind eye while Hope is suffocated by their impossible demands and toxic rivalry. Brooke's narrative is absolute. Hope is a victim of Forrester cruelty, and Steffi is the architect of her physical collapse. There will be no peace treaties. There will be no compromises. Brooke Logan is officially on the warpath, and she is taking no prisoners. She storms out of the Logan estate, her mind racing with calculated, devastating strategies. She is marching directly into the heart of the enemy territory. The wellness retreat did not calm her spirit, it merely gave her the energy required to wage a full-scale corporate and personal war. She intends to march right into the executive offices of Forrester Creations and unleash hell on the people she believes are destroying her daughter's life. When Brooke finally kicks open the doors to the CEO office, the confrontation is nothing short of legendary. Ridge and Steffi are completely blindsided by the sheer velocity of her wrath. Brooke doesn't just yell, she makes a solemn, terrifying vow. She looks Steffi dead in the eyes, her voice dripping with lethal intent, and declares that she will use every single ounce of her power, every connection, every shred of influence she possesses to completely and utterly destroy Steffi's career. She vows to dismantle Steffi's legacy piece by piece, to burn her professional reputation to the ground in retaliation for what she has done to Hope. But it is the final dagger that leaves the room in stunned, breathless silence. Ridge steps forward, attempting to defuse the bomb, pleading with his wife to step back from the ledge. He reminds her of their vows, of the fragile peace they have fought so hard to maintain. But Brooke Logan looks at the love of her life with a cold, unyielding stare. She boldly, explicitly declares that she does not care if this war destroys their marriage. She is willing to sacrifice Ridge, to burn their entire history to ashes, if it means securing vengeance for her daughter. The bridge marriage is instantly thrown onto the sacrificial altar. The lines have been drawn in permanent ink. The Logan-Forrester feud has officially gone nuclear, transcending corporate rivalry and plunging into deeply personal, life-destroying territory. Brooke's declaration of total war leaves Ridge paralyzed, realizing that the woman he loves is willing to annihilate his daughter and their marriage in a single, vindictive crusade. Steffi, already reeling from the catastrophic implosion of her marriage to Finn, is now facing a ruthless, multi-front war for her career and her family's legacy. The collateral damage of these dual explosions is going to be astronomical. On one side of Los Angeles, a shattered Steffi must navigate the terrifying reality that her husband is secretly colluding with a murderous psychopath, forcing her to prepare for a brutal, high-stakes divorce. On the other side, she must brace for impact as the matriarch of the Logan family launches a ruthless campaign to obliterate her professional life. The walls are closing in on Steffi Forrester Finnegan, and the pressure is reaching a diamond-crushing intensity. As these two massive storylines collide, the entire landscape of Los Angeles is shifting. Finn's desperate, pathetic attempts to win Steffi back will inevitably clash with Brooke's relentless assault on the Forrester family. Will Finn use this corporate chaos as a distraction to sneak back into Steffi's good graces, or will Sheila use the distraction to strike a fatal blow? Will Ridge side with his daughter and declare war on his own wife, or will he crumble under Brooke's demands? The sheer volume of secrets, lies, and vengeance currently circulating through these families is enough to power a small city. Every single character is currently standing on a landmine, and the timers are ticking down to zero. Finn's secret apartment has become the tomb of his marriage. Brooke's unhinged fury has become the detonator for a corporate apocalypse. Steffi is fighting for her life on two separate battlefields. Liam's failed intervention has only accelerated the destruction. The drama is moving at a breakneck, terrifying speed, and there is absolutely no turning back. The next few days in Los Angeles are going to reshape these families forever, leaving a trail of broken hearts, shattered careers, and ruined marriages in their wake. The ripple effects of Brooke's declaration will inevitably crash into Hope's fragile state. When Hope learns that her mother has essentially traded her marriage to Ridge for a bloody crusade against Steffi, the guilt and panic will only multiply. Hope never wanted a war, she wanted respect. But Brooke has hijacked her daughter's narrative, weaponizing Hope's physical collapse to justify a vendetta that has been simmering for decades. Liam, trapped in the middle of this madness, must now figure out how to protect his wife not just from the Forresters, but from the overwhelming, suffocating, and destructive force of her own mother's protection. And what of Sheila? With Finn's marriage to Steffi effectively detonated, Sheila is positioned exactly where she wants to be. She has successfully isolated her son, stripping away his support system and leaving him entirely dependent on her toxic validation. As Finn spirals into the despair of his impending divorce, Sheila will be there, waiting in the shadows of that secret apartment, ready to play the comforting mother. The danger she poses is no longer a distant threat, it is an active, malignant cancer eating away at the Finnegan family from the inside out. Steffi's worst nightmare has not only come true, it has moved in and unpacked its bags. With Steffi's marriage in ruins and Brooke launching a lethal corporate war, who will survive the fallout? Drop your wildest theories below and hit subscribe for the next explosive update.